If you've just got the brand new Nintendo Switch 2, congratulations, you now own one of the greatest handheld gaming consoles ever made. Wahoo! And it's exciting times, but don't rush in, as you don't want to immediately mess up the Switch 2 settings and end up having to factory reset it, or worse, break something on day one. Mamma mia! And I'm guessing you want to maximize the Switch 2's potential and make it the best that it can be right out of the gate, and you can achieve this by unlocking some hidden features and gaining a deeper understanding of the settings. And on top of that, you probably want to secure your investment and prevent anybody from messing it up. And if you have kids, well, that was probably the best excuse for you to buy one of these. However, I'm guessing you probably don't want your kids to convert your life savings into Fortnite V-Bucks. So if any of what I just said applies to you, well, then you're in the right place, because I've created this video specifically for you to get it right on day one. So now, in the words of Super Mario, let's go. Connecting the Switch 2 to your TV sounds simple, and it is, but some people might make a very major mistake here. Here's how to avoid it. Check the back of your TV and see if you have a HDMI port marked as high speed 120 Hz or faster. Some TVs might only have one or two of these, and I recommend you make sure your Switch 2 is plugged in to one of those ports. That way you're going to get the maximum speed of 120 Hz, and the port will also support ALLM, automatic low latency mode. So once you've hooked up your HDMI cable to the monitor or TV and you fired up the Switch, you might assume all of the best picture settings fall into place on their own. But there's actually a few things you need to look out for. So if you're going to be playing on a relatively new 4K display and graphics is the priority for you and you're not so much of a competitive gamer, what you might want to do is go to Settings, Display, and lock this in at a 4K resolution. However, it's really important that you know that at 4K, the Switch dock only supports 60 Hz output. So if faster frame rates and ALLM are the priority for you, for example, if you're a competitive gamer on Fortnite or something, you'd be better off locking this in at Full HD or even better 1440p, because then you get slightly better graphics and you get the faster refresh rates. It's the happy middle ground if your TV supports it. Now, staying within this same settings page, there are 3 more settings to consider changing. So if you do have a newer TV or a good gaming monitor, you can actually change the RGB range to full range. This will give you better colors. And just below that, double check that the 120 Hz and auto low latency modes are in fact switched on. Also, whilst we're here, I recommend changing the HDR output to compatible software only. If you do plan to play older Switch games that don't support HDR, leaving this on always enabled might cause crushing or over brightening of the colors on the unsupported games. So definitely change that if it is set to always on. All right, here's the first bonus tip in this video, and there's plenty more to come. If you plan to use the Switch 2 on various different TVs or gaming monitors, remember where this next feature is, because you'll need to use it. Go to Settings, go to Display, and scroll all the way to the bottom. Here you'll see Adjust HDR. So this runs through the HDR calibration setup that you probably did when you first set up your Nintendo on a TV. What this does is it perfectly dials in the dynamic range for that specific display, and it will vary a lot depending on the different models and different types of displays you're using. So just make note of this feature. So this setting should be enabled by default, but just to double check that it is, and also so you understand what it does, go to Settings, go to Display, and check that the Match TV power state is set to on. Some people love this, whilst other people will hate it. Put simply, if your TV is off and your Switch is off, and then you power up the Switch with the Joy-Cons, the TV will power up in sync with the Switch. Also, this is kind of the thing that bothers me sometimes, is if the Switch is on and you drop it on the dock and your TV is off, it will power up your TV, which is nice if that's what you intended to do. But sometimes when I put it on the dock, I just kind of hope it's going to switch off on its own. I'm just lazy like that, which it will eventually, but yeah, it wakes the TV up, so then I have to manually power it down. Anyway, number 5, how to save some power. If you are planning to use your Switch 2 mainly handheld, this is a minor adjustment that could save you some power, and also I think it makes it look better. Go to your settings, go to themes, and change this to the basic black theme. So this switches the color profile of the user interface to a darker theme, a dark mode, as some would call it. But more importantly, if you are playing handheld, it reduces the amount of white light coming off of the screen, which is better for your eyes, but it also uses less power, just a little bit, but that could make a big difference. If you want to get the best audio from your Switch 2, especially if you have a soundbar or a surround setup or hi-fi speakers connected to your TV or monitor, there is a setting that you need to look at. So if you go into settings, go to audio, and then go to TV sound. If you do have a 5.1 surround sound setup, then definitely lock in the 5.1 channel linear PCM mode. This is the best quality audio signal the Switch can output. However, if you do have just a stereo setup, then set it to stereo. And whilst we're here, I'd also suggest making sure that the console speaker virtual surround feature is on and the headphones virtual surround feature is also on. These utilize a very clever EQ that kind of creates this atmospheric effect, and it emulates having a 5.1 surround sound setup. Now, since we're talking about headphones, here's how easy it is to connect headphones or even a Bluetooth speaker to the Switch 2. Go to settings, go to Bluetooth audio. Just ensure your headphones or speaker is in pairing mode, and then hit add device. This will do a scan, and then you can just tap your headphones or speaker. Now, something to be aware of is the best audio codec for the Switch 2 is actually Bluetooth LE, which is a newer codec. So if your headphones or speaker does support Bluetooth LE, that's what it's going to default to. If they don't worry, it'll still sound good, but there is the possibility that you might run into a little bit of sound delay at times. And if that happens, then my advice would be to just plug in to the audio jack on top of the Switch. Okay, this one is specifically for you if you mainly play on the Switch while it's docked. And also if you're the type of person who leaves the Switch on the dock for extended periods of time, which is something I have done. Go to settings. Go to system. Here, go to stop charging at 90%. So enabling this will protect your battery's capacity in the long run. If you keep redlining the battery to 100%, you're going to degrade the battery pretty quickly. And this just stops that from happening. And since mine stays on the dock all the time unless I'm going traveling somewhere, I'm going to switch this on. And I'm also switching on the battery percentage feature. And this just gives me a little reminder to come back here and switch off the charge to 90% when I'm charging this to go on holiday or traveling or whatever. Okay, now let's talk about games. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you already own a Switch, which probably means you already own some games. And if you have physical game cards, all you need to do is just drop them into the Switch 2 with the cover facing towards you. That's the correct way around. And you can install them super quickly. Now, before I get into how to re-download digital games, there is a little bonus tip for you that's going to save you a ton of time in the future. Do this on your phone. Go to the Nintendo official website, nintendo.com, log into your Nintendo account, then go to account overview, then account settings, and then the sign in and security settings, and tap on where it says passkey. Now, if you haven't already got one, here is where you can set up a passkey, and this will use your Face ID if you're on iPhone, or your biometric fingerprints if you're on an Android phone. And once you've done this, you can now verify your Nintendo account with those biometrics. So this does mean you won't have to type in your password every single time. And trust me, I know it's going to be a lot. I've had to do it so many times during the making of this video, and yeah, thank me later. Anyway, back to digital games. If you've purchased games on your old Switch digitally, here's how to re-download them without using an SD card. On the home screen at the bottom, if you go to the virtual game cards section, tap on that, choose the account that you bought the game with, and here you'll see all your digital purchases. Simply tap and load to console, whichever ones you want to download. And you'll also notice while you're here, if you tap on any of the games that you've bought, you can actually lend them to family or friends if you're feeling generous. And there is one additional step to this. So you'll need to boot up your old Switch and place it next to the new one, and then follow the on-screen instructions to link them up. And this is just to verify the ownership of the games. All right, here is one of the ways you can transfer your old game saves from your old console to your new one. Go to settings, go to data management, go to transfer your saved data, and then set the Switch 2 to receive data. Now get your old Switch, repeat the same steps, but this time choose send saved data to another console. And that should do the trick. And whilst you're here on the Nintendo Switch, this is the page where you can actually delete old game saves if you don't need them anymore, or you just want to start fresh on a specific game. Number 11. Now there is another way, and it's actually the first way on the list within the menu, but it does involve a fairly expensive SD Express card. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting this right. It must be an SD Express card. This is the one that I've actually ordered for myself. It didn't arrive in time for this video. The reason the type of SD card is important is to do with the read and write speeds. Anyway, once you've got one of these, you might wonder where the hell you put it. Well, the SD card slot is actually really well hidden behind the kickstand at the bottom of the Switch. And if you look closely, the shape of the SD card is marked out here to make sure you get it the right way up when you slot it in. So they're kind of bumpy sides out to the right. Now, once it's in, you can use this to transfer your old software data without having to download anything. And also, once you've done this, the card isn't useless. You can use this same SD Express card to expand the storage on your Switch 2, of course, because it is fast enough. And something else that's important to know is the micro SD card slot on the Switch 2 is spring loaded. So don't try and pull this card out with your nail. Simply push it inwards and it will pop out. Okay, this is actually the first thing most people want to do, and it's super simple. Here's how to download games. Go to the Nintendo eShop on the home screen, scan your QR code, and here you can use your passkey to log straight into your Nintendo account. And this is where you'll find the entire Nintendo library of games. There are a couple of things I recommend you do first, like check out the free game updates for the Switch 2. So if you own any of these games in this section, you can update them to the Switch 2 versions for free, essentially just enhancing games that you already own. There's also HDR updates for Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Breath of the Wild. Those are pay-for updates though. I do think if you're playing on a big screen and it's a good screen, it's worth spending the money because this will add high dynamic range to the graphics. And this next one seems like a bit of a waste, but it's worth paying for just to familiarize yourself with the Switch 2. It's the Welcome Tour. This will kind of teach you all of the bits and pieces of the console, how it all works, and also most importantly, how the mouse works. And there are several games that currently support or will soon support mouse control with the Joy-Cons. There's a list of those on screen right now if you want to try any of those out. Also, I do recommend getting the Nintendo GameCube Classics. However, you do need the online extended membership for that. It's around £35 for the year here in the UK. And in my opinion, it's worth it just for the GameCube Zelda Wind Waker game, but it's entirely up to you. Okay, now let's get a look at the controls. So the Joy-Con 2 wrist strap attachments are all new and improved, but they're not invincible and you could break them. So here's an easy way to make sure you're putting them on correctly every time. So all you need to do is match up the plus with the plus, and that way you know you've got them the right way round. Then you just kind of hinge the bottom edge in and then click the top edge. And the same thing applies with the other side. Just match up the minus with the minus, hinge the bottom side in first, and then lever on the top side, and it just clicks into place. It should be an effortless process. If you find you're having to use a bit more force, you probably haven't lined them up correctly, or you got them the wrong way around. And here's a fun fact for you. Did you know you can actually pair up to 10 Joy-Cons? Okay, so let's say you bought more Joy-Cons for your Nintendo Switch 2. Here's how to add them easily. On the home screen, tap on the controllers icon, go to how to pair, and this will show you the various ways. The simplest way to do this is to literally just click them onto the Switch 2, and that automatically pairs them. And you can actually do this wirelessly as well without clicking them on. There's a sync button on the top of the Joy-Con. If you hold that down, that puts it into sync mode, and there's also a sync button on the Pro controller, and that works exactly the same way. So the Switch will then discover them. Okay, this is a fun and handy tip. Let's say you have 10 Joy-Cons. You're inevitably going to lose one of them one day down the side of the sofa. It's just going to happen, you know it. So this handy tool on the Switch 2 will help you in those scenarios. So if you tap on that controller icon on the home screen again, and this time go to the search for controllers, here you can find the missing controller in the list, and if you tap on that and hold your finger down, that particular Joy-Con will begin to beep and vibrate, allowing you to quickly locate it. Okay, you've made it this far into this video, and I've got some bonus quickfire tips for you guys. These ones are specific to the controllers. So a question that I know a lot of people will ask is, how do you even charge the Joy-Cons? Well, the easiest way is to connect them to the console physically. Alternatively, you can purchase maybe a charging dock, or do what I did and get the charging grip. So this charging grip is almost identical to the grip that you get for free in the Switch 2 box. However, this one does have a charging port, which means now I can charge all 4 of my controllers at once. So if at any point you need to check all of the battery levels on all of your controllers, simply tap the controls icon on the home screen again, and on this page right here you'll be able to see each one of the Joy-Cons and each of their battery levels, and even the battery level on the Switch 2 itself. And here's another bonus tip, and this is something that didn't happen straight away on my console. Go to your settings, go to controller and accessories, and here you'll see the option to update the controllers. Definitely run through this if you've just added new controllers to the system, because like I said before, it doesn't always happen automatically. Okay, so now let's talk about profiles and security settings. If you're the only person playing on the Switch 2 and you don't want anybody to mess around with your settings, your games and your game saves, there are two things that you might want to consider changing. Go to settings, go to system, and go to console lock. Here you can set up a pin. That way only you can fire up and unlock the Nintendo Switch 2 when you're good and ready. And if you are going to set up a pin, you might also want to do this. Go back to the Nintendo eShop, and this time when that annoying QR code pops up, you can simply hit the little tick box to skip verification next time. So doing that means you are now permanently verified to access all of the shopping features on your Switch. But if you do plan to let someone else play with your account at some point, you might want to leave this unticked. And this means you'd have to continue verifying each and every time. But the good news is, if you followed my earlier advice and you set up a Nintendo Passkey, well, that will make things super easy. Barely an inconvenience when it comes to getting past those QR codes. Okay, so there is a better way to let someone play your Switch 2, and that is to create an account for them. And you can have several accounts. Here's how to create one. Go to settings, go to user, and then go to add user. Now you need to head over to the Nintendo website on your phone or your computer and create an account. But before you go ahead and do that, there is one secret trick that I need to show you. I think you're going to want to see this, so hold fire on that for now. So first, tip number 18. This one is specifically for you parents out there and for maybe some of you girlfriends out there. So if you want to restrict the amount of playtime anyone's having on the Switch 2, do this. Go to settings and then go to parental controls. Now there's a really nice animated video here that explains exactly what this does, and it explains it way better than I ever could. But put simply, Nintendo have designed their own official Nintendo Switch parental control app. Here you can set timers for specific accounts, keep an eye on everything that's happening on the console, and really keep things locked down. It's really well done, and yeah, you might want to look at this. Anyway, moving on. Thank you guys for making it all the way to the end of this video. I have saved some bonus tips and tricks for you guys, including that one I mentioned earlier. So here we go. So the first tip is this, the quick menu. If you hold your finger down on the home button, at any time, a quick menu pops up on top of what you're doing, allowing you to make quick adjustments to the brightness, to the sound, and even pair quickly to Bluetooth devices without having to leave the game that you're in. Now, something you're going to find out pretty quickly is that the power button on the home screen doesn't fully power down the console. It just hibernates. So let's say you're going on a long distance journey, you're going on holiday, and you need to save every last bit of battery. Well, then you should probably fully power down the console when it's not in use. To do this, you must hold down the power button on top of the Switch 2, keep it held down, and then you'll see the power menu, and here you can fully power down the console. Okay, maybe one day, let's say when the Switch 2 OLED comes out, or maybe you just want a fresh start and you want to wipe everything off and start again from scratch. Well, here's how to do that. Go to settings, go to system, go to formatting options, and here go to restore factory settings. Okay, that secret tip that I mentioned whilst discussing the profiles. So when you do register for a Nintendo account on the official Nintendo website, if you set your country to Japan, when you access the Nintendo store, you'll be able to purchase and download Japanese games. And since Nintendo is in fact a Japanese corporation, they often release the new content there first. For example, here in the UK right now, we can't buy the Donkey Kong game just yet for the Switch 2, but you can in Japan. And once you've purchased and installed any of these games, all of the other users registered on your Switch can also play those games. Now, I will say, knowing a little bit of Japanese would be helpful, but if all else fails, you could always use Google Translate via the Google Lens. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I am working on the hidden features video for the Switch 2. If that video is already finished, that will be on screen right now. If you got any value out of this one, let me know in the comments. And if you just subscribed, you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man. And I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.